Captain Ilara Quinn adjusted the controls of her small exploration craft as it descended through the thick, swirling clouds of the fog-covered planet. Arctura 9 had been marked as an uncharted world, far beyond the established human colonies, but the strange signals detected by her ship's sensors had pulled her curiosity inescapably. Humans had always been explorers, risk-takers, and problem-solvers, and Ilara had a reputation for following her instincts, even when others hesitated. She tightened her grip on the control panel, feeling the subtle vibrations of the ship as it pierced through the thick atmosphere. Below her, jagged mountain peaks jutted through the mist, casting long, dark shadows across the gray-green landscape. The signal she had been tracking was irregular, fluctuating in intensity and frequency, almost as if it was alive. Ilara's heart quickened as she guided the craft toward a clearing in the mountains, where the sensors indicated the strongest signal. As the landing gears touched the uneven ground with a gentle shudder, she exhaled, a mixture of relief and excitement. This was what she lived for. The unknown, the chance to discover something no human had ever seen before. Stepping out of her ship, she felt the sharp chill of the planet's air and a low mist clung to her boots. The landscape was alien yet strangely beautiful. Twisted metallic structures emerged from the fog in the distance, their surfaces etched with symbols that were unfamiliar, yet deliberately crafted. Her instincts told her these structures were not natural. They were the remnants of some long-abandoned research station, or maybe a facility for monitoring something beyond the planet. Her eyes narrowed as she approached, careful with every step. As she entered the largest structure, she noticed signs of activity, scorch marks on the walls, displaced equipment, and strange energy readings that made the hairs on her arms stand on end. Ilara's voice echoed softly as she called out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" The air seemed to respond with a faint hum, almost like a whisper carried through the walls. She paused, listening. There it was. A voice, soft and trembling, almost masked by the building's hum, calling back to her. I'm here," said a voice that carried fear but tried to hide it. Ilara's senses sharpened. She had spent years reading humans, but she had also learned to recognize subtle cues in alien communications. The tremor in the voice, the hesitation in the tone, it spoke more than the words themselves. Fear was there, but it was carefully masked, like a thin veil attempting to hide a storm. She stepped forward cautiously, moving toward the source. There she saw Lyra. The alien's appearance was unlike anything Ilara had encountered before. Tall, slender, with translucent skin that glimmered faintly in the dim light, Lyra's eyes were large and expressive, revealing the panic she tried so hard to hide. She raised her hand slightly in a gesture of caution. "Please, don't come closer," Lyra whispered. I don't know what you will do." Ilara smiled gently, showing openness and calm. "I'm not here to harm you. My name is Ilara Quinn, human explorer. I've been following a signal that led me here. Can you tell me what is happening?" Lyra hesitated, biting her lower lip. The alien's voice was careful, selective, and almost mechanical at times, as if she was trying to filter every word. There are things here. Things I should not have awakened. You should not have come." Ilara's curiosity piqued. "Things you should not have awakened?" she asked. "Lyra, I need to understand. Can you trust me?" The alien seemed to shiver at the question. For a long moment, Lyra remained silent, her eyes darting to the walls, scanning every corner as if expecting danger to appear from nowhere. I am not sure I can," she admitted finally. "But perhaps you are different. Perhaps you can help." Ilara took a careful step forward. "That is all I ask. Show me what you know, and we will face it together." For a moment, the two of them simply regarded each other. The tension in the room was palpable. Lyra's fear was real, but her instinct to protect the secrets of her people was equally strong. Humans had a reputation for fearlessness, for seeing what others overlooked, and Lyra's eyes reflected a grudging admiration, tinged with worry. "You must understand," Lyra began, her voice quivering as it broke through her careful facade. "This planet, it was not meant to hold what I have kept here. My people, they created something powerful, something that could destroy everything if it falls into the wrong hands." Ilara listened intently, sensing both the danger and the desperation. Humans had faced threats before, but this was unlike anything she had encountered. Her mind raced as she considered the possibilities. "Then we must contain it," she said. "We must make sure it does not harm anyone. Can you guide me?" Lyra swallowed hard, and for a moment her eyes flickered with hesitation. I tried to lie to others who came before. I feared they would not understand. I feared what they might do. But you are different. You see the fear in me, yet you do not judge. Perhaps you can help." Ilara nodded, feeling a sense of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Humans had often been underestimated, but it was their ability to act decisively under pressure, to trust both reason and instinct, that gave them an edge. She offered her hand, a gesture of both solidarity and reassurance. "Then we face this together. I will not let fear dictate what must be done." Lyra hesitated, then slowly placed her hand over Ilara's, a sign of trust that surprised even the human. The alien's touch was cool and almost ethereal, sending a small shiver through Ilara. But it was more than physical. It was symbolic. They were now bound in a mission that demanded courage, ingenuity, and cooperation beyond the ordinary. The alien guided Ilara deeper into the station. Strange lights flickered along the walls and intricate symbols pulsed faintly, as though the very building was alive, aware of their movements. "This way," Lyra whispered. "We must reach the central chamber. There is a device. It is powerful. It must not be misused." As they moved, Ilara observed the station carefully. Machines hummed softly, wires snaked across the floors, and panels displayed data in alien scripts she could not read. Yet something about the architecture spoke of intelligence, planning, and design far beyond what humans had achieved so far. She wondered what the device could be, what threat it posed, and how her human skills could be used to address it. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the floor beneath them. Dust fell from the ceiling as a faint glow appeared from one of the distant corridors. Lyra froze, panic flickering across her face despite her attempts to mask it. We must hurry," she said. It is unstable. It will react if disturbed." Ilara's heart pounded, not with fear, but with the thrill of challenge. Humans had a way of thriving under pressure, of seeing opportunity where others saw danger. "Lead the way," she said. "We will handle whatever comes." The central chamber was a massive space, filled with alien machinery and a strange device that hovered slightly above the floor. Its surface pulsed with soft light, shifting in patterns that seemed almost alive. Lyra stepped back, her hands trembling. This is it. My people, they tried to control it, to contain it. But it is too strong. If anyone misuses it, it could destroy not just this planet, but much more." Ilara approached the device carefully, studying it. She could not understand the alien technology in detail, but she could assess patterns, predict reactions, and anticipate danger. Her human intuition told her that subtle adjustments, careful handling, and precise movements would be key to keeping it stable. Lyra watched her closely, her fear mingled with awe. You are human," she whispered. "I can see why others underestimated your kind. You are not afraid of what others would flee from. You see clearly what must be done." Alara smiled faintly, feeling the weight of her species' legacy in that moment. Humans had always been underestimated in the galaxy, seen as fragile, impulsive, or reckless. Yet here she was, standing before a force that others would tremble at, analyzing it, preparing to act with clarity and courage. She had always believed that fear could be a tool, not a chain, and Lyra's unspoken admiration confirmed it. They began the delicate process of stabilizing the device. Alara directed Lyra to follow precise steps, combining her instinctive understanding of cause and effect with Lyra's knowledge of the alien systems. It was slow, tense work. Every flicker of light, every hum of the machinery could signal danger, yet humans had a unique ability to adapt, to improvise under pressure, and Alara demonstrated it flawlessly. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The fog outside thickened, pressing against the windows of the station, while inside, two unlikely allies worked side by side, bridging the gap between species through trust, intellect, and shared courage. Finally, the device stabilized, its pulsing lights slowing to a steady rhythm. Lyra exhaled, her fear giving way to relief and gratitude. You did it," she said softly. I thought no one could manage this. But you humans, you are remarkable." Alara allowed herself a small smile. "We adapt, we think, we act. That is what humans do." She looked around the chamber. Sensing that this was only the beginning, the galaxy was full of dangers, of mysteries, and of forces beyond comprehension. Yet humans, with their courage, intuition, and ingenuity, had always found a way to prevail. Lyra's gaze met hers, a mixture of respect and something more profound, hope. "Then, perhaps together we can face what comes next," she said. Alara nodded, knowing that the future was uncertain, full of challenges and unknown threats. But one thing was clear: humans were a force the galaxy could not ignore. And for the first time, Lyra saw it too. The two stepped back from the device side by side, prepared to face whatever the planet, or the universe, might throw at them next. In that moment, fear had been acknowledged, courage had been chosen, and a fragile trust had been formed. It was the beginning of an extraordinary partnership, one that would test the limits of human ingenuity, resilience, and the unpredictable spark that made them uniquely formidable in a vast and mysterious galaxy. The moment the device stabilized, Alara felt a strange mixture of relief and unease. Stabilizing it was only a temporary measure. The energy readings indicated that the device was far more powerful than she had imagined. Humans had always thrived in difficult circumstances, solving problems by combining intelligence with intuition, but this challenge would test more than just intellect. It would demand courage, ingenuity, and an unshakable calm under pressure. Lyra stayed close, her hands brushing against the smooth control panels as if seeking comfort. Her eyes constantly scanned the room, betraying the fear she tried to conceal. "Alara," she said quietly, "my people, they will come. They will want the device back. They will not care what it can do, only that it is theirs." Alara studied her carefully. Humans had faced threats before, both from nature and from their own kind, and she could feel the intensity of the situation. "Then we must be ready," she said. "We cannot wait for them to arrive. We must understand the device, and we must protect it. Together." Lyra hesitated, her fear palpable, but she nodded. Humans had a strange ability to inspire confidence, even when hope seemed thin. There was something in Alara's presence, a calm decisiveness that was impossible to ignore. "The device, it responds to thought patterns, to intentions," she whispered. If one tries to control it with selfish desire, it can destroy entire areas. Only careful, measured actions can prevent disaster. Alara's mind raced. She had to balance her instincts with the alien rules of the device. Every step, every adjustment could have consequences beyond what either of them understood. Humans were known for improvisation, and now her improvisation would be tested in a situation that no human had ever faced. As they explored the chamber further, the hum of machinery was interrupted by an abrupt sound from outside, a deep vibration that resonated through the walls. Lyra froze. "They are here," she whispered. They move fast. They can sense the device." Alara's pulse quickened, but her mind remained sharp. "We need a plan," she said, scanning the chamber for possible exits. Humans excelled at thinking quickly, finding ways to turn apparent disadvantages into opportunities. She spotted a secondary door partially hidden behind a panel. "This way," she instructed, gesturing to Lyra. "It might lead to a safer area. We can regroup and think ahead." The corridor was narrow and dimly lit, the walls vibrating with residual energy from the device. Every step they took echoed ominously. Lyra's fear was evident, yet there was also a flicker of hope in her eyes, hope born from the unexpected courage of a human standing beside her. "They are very efficient," Lyra murmured. "They will not hesitate if they catch us unprepared." Her voice trailed off, and Alara knew she was thinking the worst. "Then we will not be unprepared," Alara said firmly. Humans had a habit of meeting danger head-on, often when others would hide. Her calm tone seemed to reassure Lyra, who followed without protest. They entered a larger room filled with control interfaces and alien holograms. The symbols and lights danced with energy, and Alara could feel the device's influence even here. Lyra pointed to a central console. "We can attempt to communicate with the device from here. If we synchronize our intentions, we can stabilize it further, but we must act fast." Alara nodded. "Then let's do it." Humans were not afraid of complexity. They thrived on it. She observed the holographic patterns, tracing movements with her hands as if reading an alien language she had never seen. Her intuition told her the correct sequence, the proper rhythm. She instructed Lyra to follow her, guiding her hands over the controls to ensure precision. As they worked, the air thickened with tension. Outside, the vibrations grew stronger, indicating the approach of the alien faction Lyra had feared. Every second mattered. The device pulsed with brighter energy, responding to their actions, sometimes reacting unpredictably. Ilara's eyes narrowed as she adjusted her focus. Humans had an unmatched ability to remain composed while thinking under pressure. She encouraged Lyra, who faltered occasionally under the strain. "You are doing well," Alara said, her voice calm but firm. "Focus. Trust yourself. Trust me." Lyra exhaled, following Alara's lead, and together they synchronized their intentions. Slowly, the device's energy readings began to stabilize, the pulsing becoming regular and manageable. Lyra's fear started to transform into cautious admiration. Humans were strange creatures, unpredictable and daring, yet capable of remarkable precision and composure when it mattered most. Suddenly, a sharp metallic sound echoed from the corridor, followed by a deep hum that vibrated through the floor. Alara tensed. "They're inside," she said, moving toward a reinforced observation panel. Through it, she could see the approaching figures of the alien faction, tall, armored, moving with mechanical efficiency. They had clearly anticipated Lyra's actions and had come ready to claim the device by force. Lyra recoiled slightly. They will take it. We cannot stop them." Ilara shook her head. Humans did not give up easily. "We won't let them," she said. "We will outsmart them. There is always a way. We just have to find it." The aliens moved swiftly, their own tools and weapons scanning for interference. but they were calculating, rigid, and predictable. Humans had always excelled in unpredictability, using unconventional tactics to gain advantage over stronger or more technologically advanced foes. Ilara's mind raced, formulating a plan. She instructed Lyra to operate a series of secondary controls that would create a temporary energy barrier around the chamber. "It won't last long," she warned, "but it will buy us time." Lyra followed, her hands shaking slightly but steadying under Ilara's guidance. As the barrier activated, the alien faction paused, confused by the sudden disruption. Ilara seized the moment. "We need to move the device," she said. Humans had a tendency to act boldly when the moment demanded it. She scanned the room for portable modules and discovered several energy conduits that could be detached. Carefully, she directed Lyra in disassembling the device into smaller, manageable units. Each piece was heavy and intricate, but humans were resourceful, capable of handling unexpected tasks with precision. Once the modules were ready, Ilara and Lyra carried them through a hidden maintenance corridor, narrowly avoiding detection. The aliens moved past the main chamber, scanning for anomalies, but they could not anticipate the ingenuity of humans. Every step was a calculated risk. Yet humans were masters of improvisation, able to adapt to the unforeseen with creativity and speed. Finally, they reached a secure underground storage area. Ilara quickly set up containment fields around the device modules, using a combination of human intuition and Lyra's technical knowledge. The energy readings stabilized almost immediately, confirming that their improvisation had succeeded. Lyra finally allowed herself to breathe. I cannot believe it," she said softly. "I thought no one could manage this. You, humans, you are extraordinary." Ilara smiled faintly. Humans had always been underestimated, but situations like these revealed their true strength, not in brute force, but in courage, intelligence, and adaptability. "We work together," she said. "That is what makes us strong." As they rested briefly, the ground trembled again. The alien faction had regrouped and was attempting to breach the containment area, using advanced scanners and mechanical tools. Ilara stood, determination hardening in her eyes. "We are not done yet. They underestimate us because they cannot predict us. Humans are unpredictable. We do what others cannot imagine." Lyra's eyes widened with understanding. The alien had always tried to control the device through fear and strict protocol. She had never considered that unpredictability, creativity, and courage could serve as powerful tools. Humans had an instinctive edge, and Lyra was beginning to see it. The aliens advanced again, and Ilara quickly assessed the situation. Using the containment fields, she manipulated the energy patterns to create illusions, making the aliens perceive the device as being in multiple locations at once. They hesitated, unable to reconcile the conflicting data. "Move!" Ilara shouted, guiding Lyra to adjust the fields while maintaining synchronization. Humans thrived under pressure, and this moment required every ounce of ingenuity they possessed. Slowly but surely, they forced the faction to retreat, confused and frustrated by the unpredictable tactics. Once the immediate threat passed, Ilara leaned against the containment console, exhausted but focused. "This is only the beginning," she said. "They will return, and next time they will be more prepared. We must be ready, always thinking one step ahead." Lyra looked at her with newfound respect. I have never seen such courage and clarity. My people, they would have failed. But you, humans, you are different. You are not just survivors. You are something more." Ilara nodded, understanding the weight of her species' reputation in this moment. Humans were not invincible, but their combination of intellect, intuition, and fearlessness made them a force the galaxy could not ignore. She also understood that this mission would test them further, pushing both human and alien limits. But she welcomed the challenge. They spent the remainder of the cycle analyzing the device and planning their next steps. Lyra shared what she knew about the device's origin, and Ilara used her human insight to hypothesize methods for stabilizing it long-term. Together, they were stronger than either could be alone. As the fog outside thickened, Ilara reflected on what they had achieved. Humans were capable of facing threats that others might consider insurmountable, not because of raw strength, but because of their courage, ingenuity, and ability to act decisively when fear threatened to paralyze others. She knew the alien faction would return, more organized and determined than before, but she also knew that humans, when united and focused, could turn even the most desperate situations to their advantage. Lyra, standing beside her, watched the device with a mixture of awe and gratitude. Fear had brought them together, but courage and trust were beginning to define their partnership. Humans had an edge that no other species had considered, an unpredictable combination of reason, bravery, and intuition. And in this moment, Lyra realized that the galaxy might never fully understand the depth of human potential. Ilara looked at Lyra and smiled. "We've done well today," she said. "But tomorrow we must be even smarter, faster, and braver. This challenge is not over. It has only begun." Lyra nodded, a faint smile breaking through her fear. "Then we face it together," she said. And so, in the dim light of the fog-covered planet, two unlikely allies prepared for the trials to come, aware that their courage, ingenuity, and cooperation would determine the fate of the device, and perhaps the balance of power in this distant corner of the galaxy. Humans had once again proven that they were not to be underestimated, and that even in the face of overwhelming fear, their unique combination of intelligence, creativity, and bravery could overcome the impossible. The planet's fog grew thicker with every hour, curling through the mountains and valleys like a living thing. Ilara Quinn stood at the edge of the underground chamber, watching the faint lights of the containment fields pulse softly around the device modules. Her mind was already racing ahead, anticipating every possible move the alien faction might make. Humans had always been fighters of impossible odds, and Ilara was no exception. Every challenge had a solution, even if it required thinking in ways no one had tried before. Lyra hovered nearby, her translucent form flickering slightly as she tried to steady her racing thoughts. Fear had always been her companion, but with Ilara beside her, it had begun to transform into something else: awareness, caution, and even admiration. "They will come back," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the machinery. "And next time, they will be more prepared. They will not be fooled so easily." Ilara nodded. "Then we need to be ready. Humans never back down from what others fear. We learn, we adapt, and we act. That is how we survive, and that is how we win." Her words were calm but firm, and the confidence in her voice seemed to ripple through Lyra, easing the tension in her shoulders. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly, analyzing the device, running simulations, and preparing defensive measures. Lyra shared every fragment of knowledge she had, her voice steadying as she realized that Ilara's human intuition complemented her technical expertise perfectly. Humans had a way of seeing patterns, predicting outcomes, and improvising solutions on the fly, a combination that Lyra had never witnessed in her own species. Suddenly, the ground trembled violently, throwing them both off balance. A low, metallic roar echoed through the tunnels, growing louder with each passing second. Ilara instinctively raised her arm, blocking falling debris, while Lyra clutched the nearest support pillar. "They're here," Ilara said, her voice calm but urgent. "And this time, they mean business." Through the reinforced observation panels, they could see the alien faction advancing. These figures were taller than the first wave, their armor more sophisticated, their movements faster and more precise. They carried advanced scanning tools, weapons, and containment disruptors. It was clear that the previous encounter had taught them to expect deception, but humans had a gift for unpredictability, a gift that no enemy could calculate. Alara scanned the chamber, her mind running 100 steps ahead. She instructed Lyra to adjust the energy patterns, creating multiple overlapping fields that would confuse the intruders. "Make it appear that the device is in several places at once," she said. "They cannot predict where we truly are." Lyra's hands moved swiftly over the controls. Following Alara's guidance with precision, their combined efforts producing a mesmerizing array of shifting lights and energy pulses. The faction paused, momentarily disoriented by the illusion. Their sensors bounced between the false device locations, and their frustration became evident. Humans thrived in such moments of chaos, turning what seemed like a disadvantage into a strategic edge. Alara smiled faintly, knowing that the unpredictability of human thought was already giving them the advantage. "Now," she whispered, "we move the modules." Using a series of carefully calculated steps, they began transferring the device into a hidden transport corridor. Each module was heavy, intricate, and unstable, but humans had an uncanny ability to manage complex tasks under pressure. Alara guided Lyra through each motion, ensuring that the alien faction remained unaware of their precise movements. The corridor led to an ancient storage chamber deep within the mountain, a place long abandoned and forgotten. The air was cold and still, the silence a sharp contrast to the chaos outside. Alara set the modules down carefully and activated additional containment fields, creating a protective barrier that would buy them time if the faction breached the chamber. Lyra watched, awe shining in her eyes. Humans were fearless, but it was not blind courage. It was intelligence, foresight, and adaptability all combined. "They are not just strong," Lyra said softly, almost to herself. "They are clever. They act when others hesitate, see what others cannot. They are extraordinary." Alara nodded, her attention already returning to the task at hand. "And this is only the beginning. They will try again, harder and smarter. But humans always find a way. That is what we do." The ground shook again, louder this time, and the sound of advancing footsteps echoed through the tunnels. The alien faction had adapted, coordinating their movements and scanning patterns to counter the illusions. Alara's heart pounded, but her mind remained sharp. Humans were capable of thinking several steps ahead, combining intuition and logic in ways that often baffled even the most advanced opponents. "We need a distraction," she said quickly. "Something they won't anticipate." Lyra tilted her head, fear flickering across her features. "What do you mean?" Alara smiled faintly. "We will create a diversion that draws them away from the main chamber. Humans are resourceful. We can use the environment, their own assumptions, and quick thinking to turn the situation in our favor." Using a combination of energy pulses from the containment fields and carefully timed holographic projections, Alara and Lyra created an artificial signal, mimicking the device in another section of the tunnels. The faction, sensing the false signal, diverted their course, moving toward the decoy with methodical precision. "Now," Alara said, and together they moved the modules further into the hidden chamber. The aliens were clever, but humans were unpredictable. Where the faction expected hesitation or fear, they found boldness and quick, decisive action. Every movement was calculated yet seemingly spontaneous, a combination that left their enemies guessing and disoriented. Once the modules were safely stored, Alara turned to Lyra. "We need to plan for the next encounter. They will not give up. They will come back with greater force." Lyra nodded, her fear replaced by determination. "Then we must be ready," she said. "But I have never seen anyone like you, Alara. Humans, you act when others would flee. You see opportunities in danger. It is remarkable." Alara smiled faintly. Humans had always been underestimated, and yet here she was, proving once again that courage, ingenuity, and adaptability could overcome even the most formidable threats. "That is what humans do," she said simply. "We adapt, we improvise, we face what others cannot." Hours later, as they reviewed the energy readings and adjusted the containment fields, another rumble shook the mountain. This time, it was different, more precise, almost surgical in its approach. The faction had learned from their mistakes, coordinating their movements with strategy and speed. Alara knew that this encounter would test them like never before. "They are more prepared," Lyra said, anxiety flickering in her voice. "They have learned from their last failure. We might not be able to hold them off." Alara shook her head. Humans never back down, even against overwhelming odds. "We will hold them off," she said firmly. "Humans do not give up. We face what others fear. We find solutions when no one else can. Trust me." The aliens breached the outer tunnels, their scanners sweeping for the hidden chamber. Alara and Lyra activated additional security measures using a combination of holographic projections, energy pulses, and environmental manipulations to slow them down. Humans excelled in improvisation, and the creativity of their defense left the faction struggling to anticipate each move. For hours, the battle of wits continued. The aliens advanced, adjusted, and attempted to predict human behavior, while Alara countered, adapting and improvising with instinctive precision. Every movement, every decision demonstrated the unique strength of humans, the ability to act decisively under pressure, to see what others overlook, and to turn fear into opportunity. Lyra's admiration grew with every passing moment. She had spent her life fearing the unpredictable consequences of the device, fearing her own species' misuse of power, and fearing the unknown. But humans faced fear head-on. They did not hide, they did not hesitate, and they did not falter. They adapted, they learned, and they acted with clarity when all else seemed chaotic. Finally, after hours of strategic maneuvering, the alien faction retreated. They had been forced to abandon their immediate objective, confused and unable to cope with the unpredictability of human tactics. The containment field stabilized once more, and the modules remained secure. Lyra exhaled deeply, a mixture of relief and amazement washing over her. I cannot believe it," she said. They underestimated you. Humans, you are extraordinary. I have never seen such courage, such clarity, such adaptability." Alara smiled faintly, exhausted but resolute. Humans had always thrived in the face of adversity, and this encounter had proven it once again. "We act," she said simply. "We think, we adapt, we face what others fear. That is what humans do." The fog outside thickened, pressing against the hidden chamber like a living wall. The device hummed softly, stable for now, but the future remained uncertain. Alara and Lyra had survived the first major challenge, but they both knew it was only the beginning. The alien faction would return, stronger and more prepared. Humans had won this round, but the real test was yet to come. As the night wore on, Alara reviewed the energy patterns of the device, noting subtle changes and anomalies. Lyra stood beside her, her fear tempered by admiration and a growing trust. Humans had faced what others could not, had adapted when others would fail, and had turned a moment of terror into triumph. In that quiet moment, Lyra realized the truth she had feared to admit. Humans were not only courageous and clever, they were a force the galaxy could not easily control or predict. And for the first time, she understood that fear was not weakness when combined with intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Humans had mastered the impossible simply by being themselves. Ilara looked at Lyra, determination in her eyes. "We will face whatever comes next," she said. "Together, we are stronger than anything they can throw at us." Lyra nodded, her admiration growing into something deeper, trust, hope, and a recognition of human potential that even her own species had underestimated. And so, as the planet's fog swirled and the distant mountains loomed, two unlikely allies prepared for the ultimate challenge. Humans had faced fear, chaos, and overwhelming odds, and had emerged stronger, proving once again that their courage, ingenuity, and unpredictability were forces no one could ignore. The real test was coming, and Ilara was ready. The galaxy would soon witness the true power of humans in action. The fog outside had grown almost impenetrable, curling around the jagged mountains and seeping into every valley. Inside the hidden chamber, the faint glow of the containment fields reflected off the walls, illuminating the determined faces of Ilara and Lyra. The device hummed steadily, its energy stable for now. But the signals indicated that the alien faction would return soon, larger, smarter, and more relentless than ever. Ilara had anticipated this moment, knowing that humans thrived under pressure and that courage often came from acting decisively when the odds were highest. Lyra moved alongside her, her translucent skin shimmering in the dim light. She had learned to trust Ilara's instincts, though fear still lingered in her voice. "They will not give up," she whispered. "They will come with everything they have. We cannot underestimate them again." Ilara nodded. "Humans don't underestimate challenges," she said. "We face them. We find solutions when others would give in. That is what makes us strong." Her eyes flicked toward the device, considering every option. Humans were uniquely capable of turning what seemed impossible into an opportunity. That was their strength. Outside, the ground trembled as the alien faction approached. This time, their formation was precise, almost perfect, their scanning tools more advanced and their movements faster. They were clearly prepared, expecting the humans to falter, but humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and fearless, qualities their enemies could not calculate. Ilara quickly assessed the situation. The hidden chamber offered limited space for maneuvering, but humans excelled at improvisation. She instructed Lyra to adjust the containment fields, creating complex patterns of overlapping energy that could act as both defense and distraction. Lyra's hands moved swiftly, following her guidance, while her fear slowly transformed into focus. Humans had a way of turning fear into action, and Ilara's calm decisiveness was contagious. The alien faction breached the outer corridor, their scanners sweeping for the device. Ilara and Lyra activated a series of energy pulses designed to mimic the device in multiple locations. The aliens hesitated, disoriented by the false readings. Ilara's plan was working. Humans often found ways to exploit confusion, turning it into a strategic advantage that brute strength alone could never achieve. "Now," Ilara whispered, her voice calm but commanding. "We move the modules." They carefully lifted the device modules and carried them through a concealed maintenance corridor. Every step was precise, every motion deliberate. The aliens were clever, but humans had an instinctive edge. They could improvise, adapt, and act decisively when others expected hesitation. Ilara's mind raced ahead, calculating contingencies while her hands executed the immediate task. Once the modules were in a secure underground storage area, Ilara quickly reinforced the containment fields. The energy readings stabilized, but she knew the aliens would not give up. This was a test of endurance, ingenuity, and courage, the exact environment where humans excelled. "They will return," Lyra said softly, her voice tinged with awe. And next time, they will not be fooled. We must be ready. Ilara nodded, a faint smile forming on her face. Then we will be smarter, faster, and braver. Humans always find a way. She adjusted the energy patterns, creating a network of shifting fields that could respond dynamically to any threat. Humans had a way of thinking several steps ahead, combining reason and instinct in a way that left even the most advanced adversaries struggling to keep pace. Hours passed in tense preparation. The chamber was a whirlwind of activity, with Lyra adjusting controls and monitoring energy readings, and Ilara formulating strategies, improvising defenses, and anticipating the faction's next move. Humans thrived in such moments of challenge, turning fear into clarity and pressure into decisive action. Finally, the alien faction arrived in full force. They moved swiftly, scanning, calculating, and attempting to predict human behavior. But humans were unpredictable, creative, and bold. Ilara had anticipated their patterns, and the moment they entered the chamber, she activated the dynamic energy barriers, forcing them into a maze of shifting fields and illusions. The faction hesitated, trying to understand the sudden changes, but humans excelled at exploiting hesitation. Ilara directed Lyra to project holographic images of the device in multiple locations, creating further confusion. Every move was calculated to exploit the faction's rigidity, turning their strength into a disadvantage. "You are remarkable," Lyra whispered almost to herself. "Humans, you act when others would freeze. You see what others cannot. You are extraordinary." Ilara gave a faint smile, her focus unwavering. Humans had always been underestimated, yet time and again they proved that courage, intelligence, and adaptability were more powerful than brute force or strict logic. "We act," she said simply. "We think, we adapt, and we face what others fear. That is what humans do." The faction advanced, their sensors sweeping, trying to locate the real device modules. Ilara had prepared for this. Using the shifting energy fields, she manipulated the environment to create false readings, making it seem as though the modules were moving in unpredictable patterns. Humans excelled at improvisation, and this moment showcased it perfectly. As the aliens struggled to reconcile the conflicting data, Ilara and Lyra moved the modules to a final secure location deep within the mountain. The containment fields there were stronger, designed to withstand direct attacks and to stabilize the device long-term. Every motion required precision, patience, and quick thinking, but humans thrived under such pressure. The alien faction, frustrated and unable to anticipate the human strategy, attempted a direct breach. Ilara remained calm, using her knowledge of the environment and human ingenuity to create defensive maneuvers that guided the faction into traps of their own making. The faction's advanced tools were rendered ineffective by the unpredictable human tactics. Hours stretched on, a battle of wits rather than brute strength. The chamber echoed with the hum of energy fields, the flicker of holographic projections, and the soft murmurs of calculations from both Lyra and Ilara. Humans had a unique ability to combine instinct with analysis, improvisation with strategy, a combination that no other species seemed to anticipate. Finally, the faction began to retreat, confused and unable to cope with the humans' unpredictability. Ilara allowed herself a small smile, knowing that their ingenuity had won the day. The device was secure, and the immediate threat had been neutralized. Lyra exhaled deeply, relief washing over her. I cannot believe it," she said. "You humans, you are extraordinary. I have never seen such courage, clarity, and adaptability. You are more than I imagined." Ilara placed a reassuring hand on Lyra's shoulder. "Humans face what others cannot. We turn fear into action, danger into opportunity. That is what makes us strong." Her eyes scanned the stabilized device, considering the challenges still to come. The galaxy was full of threats and unknowns, but humans had a way of meeting them head-on, with courage and creativity. As the night wore on, they analyzed the device further, ensuring that all energy readings were stable and that no hidden dangers remained. Lyra, once paralyzed by fear, now moved with confidence, guided by Alara's calm presence and human ingenuity. Humans had always been able to act decisively when others hesitated, and now Lyra understood the depth of that power. Finally, as the first hints of light began to filter through the fog outside, Alara stepped back and surveyed their work. The device was secure, the alien faction had been repelled, and they had survived a challenge that would have overwhelmed almost any other species. Humans had faced the impossible, adapted to the unpredictable, and acted with courage and intelligence that left their enemies defeated. Lyra turned to Alara, admiration shining in her eyes. "You, humans, you are more than I ever believed. You are not just survivors. You are a force that cannot be ignored." Alara nodded, a sense of quiet pride settling over her. Humans had always been underestimated, yet time and again they had proven that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could overcome even the most formidable challenges. "We act," she said softly. "We adapt. We think. We face what others fear. That is what humans do." As they exited the hidden chamber together, the fog still swirling around the mountains, Alara reflected on the journey so far. Humans had faced fear, danger, and overwhelming odds, and had emerged victorious through intelligence, courage, and ingenuity. Lyra, who had once tried to hide her fear through deception, now saw humans as allies, mentors, and examples of what could be achieved when fear was acknowledged but not allowed to control action. The galaxy beyond the fog was vast and full of unknowns, but humans had once again proven that they were capable of facing challenges that others might consider insurmountable. The alien faction would undoubtedly return, seeking revenge or attempting to seize the device again, but humans thrived on challenges. They were unpredictable, clever, and fearless when it mattered most. Alara looked at Lyra and smiled. "Whatever comes next, we will face it together. Humans have a way of turning fear into opportunity, danger into strategy, and the impossible into the achievable. We will not fail." Lyra nodded, a faint smile breaking across her face. "Then, together, we can face anything," she said. And so, as the fog began to lift and the first light of the planet's sun glimmered on the horizon, two unlikely allies prepared for the future. Humans had once again proven that their courage, adaptability, and intelligence made them a force beyond prediction. Fear had been acknowledged, danger had been confronted, and trust had been forged. The galaxy had seen the edge of human potential, and it was a force to be reckoned with. For Alara Quinn, for Lyra, and for humanity, the story was far from over. But in that moment, they had shown what humans could do: face the unknown, act decisively, and emerge stronger, wiser, and braver than any challenge could predict. The device was secure, the immediate threat defeated, and the alliance between human and alien had proven that courage and ingenuity could triumph where fear and expectation had failed. The galaxy was watching unknowingly as humans took their place among the stars, not as fragile observers, but as bold, unpredictable, and unstoppable actors in the grand theater of existence. And Alara, standing with Lyra at her side, knew that humanity's story had only just begun.